How's it going, folks? You're very welcome to today's lesson. This is actually going to be our very last lesson on regional geography, okay? And we're talking about the population distribution of an EU region. So we've already spoken about the population distribution of an Irish region, which is the North and West region, of a non-EU region, which is Brazil, and now we're going to talk about the Mezzogiorno region of Italy. Now, I know when it comes to an EU region, we usually talk about Paris and France, but unfortunately, when it comes to population distribution, there's not really much to talk about in France, so we're going to talk about the Mezzogiorno region of Italy first, okay? So to answer a question such as this, the first thing we must do, name our region, the Mezzogiorno region of Italy, okay? Describe the population distribution and density in the region. So the population here is dispersed and spread out, okay? It's not even. You know, you could have a high population density in one area and then nobody living in another area, okay? Then we must explain the factors affecting the population density and distribution of our region or in our region. So we're going to talk about some physical factors, the relief and soils, again, the very same as North and West region, and some human factors such as crime, unemployment, government policy, and the influx of refugees, okay? So first of all, what is the Mezzogiorno region in Italy? Very, very simple, guys. The Mezzogiorno region is this area here. So it's the area below the red line, okay? The area south of the red line, okay? And it's defined as a poor, peripheral, less developed region. Okay, so it's very much like the North and West region of Ireland. Okay, it's poor, it's peripheral, it's remote, and it's not as developed as the north of Italy. Same way, the North and West region of Ireland is not as developed as the Greater Dublin area. Okay, the Mezzogiorno contains a population of 21 million people, so about over 4 times the population of Ireland live in the south of Italy here, and over half these, so 65% of these, live in rural areas. Okay. The average population density here is 40 people per square kilometre. Okay, so, you know, that's some areas are very, very remote and they've even less than that. Some areas, such as, say, for example, Naples here. Naples has about 400 people per square kilometre. Okay, and then there's some areas with like maybe 3 or 4 people per square kilometre. Okay, and the distribution of the population here is uneven. Okay, and the reason why it's uneven is because of various physical factors and human factors. So before we even get into it, if we look at our map here, okay, what clues are there here? What physical factors are on our map here that might tell us that there's not the population distribution here is uneven and dispersed and spread out? Well, the first thing we can see here is this brown thing. This brown thing is the Apennine mountain range, okay? And it dominates basically all of southern Italy, all of the Mezzogiorno region, okay? And if you've got a mountain, there's not going to be a lot of people living on it. Okay, so there are very, very few people living in this area here. Why? Because it's difficult to build a house on a mountain. Why do you want to live on a mountain anyway? Because there's no shops or resources or services or transport or anything. Okay, so straight away we've already spotted, before we've got into it, we've already spotted one physical factor that would hinder population development in this area. Okay, so the first physical factors we're going to focus on are soils and relief. Again, the very same as the North and West region in Ireland. How would soils influence population distribution? Well, if you've got bad soils in one area, no one's going to live there because there's no farming can take place, okay? What about relief? Well, as you've already said, if you've got these fellas here, so mountains, there's no one going to live there, okay? So if you look at this village here, traditional Italian village in the Mezzogiorno region, you know, as you can see, the village is built on a relatively flat land, whereas in the background, in the mountains, there is nothing. There's no houses there, okay? So soils and relief affect where people live, okay? So, for example, where there's flat land in this area here, the Campania region, which is around Naples and Mount Vesuvius, there's a high population density here of 400 people per square kilometre. So, guys, if we go down here, around here in Naples, okay, so this area here along the coast, it's got a reasonably flat land. As a result, Naples has developed, and as a result, it's got a high population density of 400 people per square kilometre. Okay. Meanwhile, if you go to an area such as Basilicata, okay, Basilicata is what's called a remote upland region with poor soil. So you'll find Basilicata. It's not on our map here, but Basilicata is right smack bang in the middle here. It's an upland area, it's on top of a mountain, and it's because of this it's got poor soils, and because of that it's got a low population density. Okay, now why do people even live here? So the reason why there are people living on top of mountains is because if you go back the centuries, guys, towards the Middle Ages when there was tribes and that kind of thing, small rural settlements set up in small remote upland regions because they were easier to defend from attackers. And as a result, today there still is the odd village, such as, for example, this one here, set up in upland areas, okay, rural upland areas. An example of this is Basilicata, okay. Whereas there's an example of a high population density here, the Campania region around Naples, okay. As you've already mentioned, the Apennine Mountain area, the Apennine Mountains, guys, are a big factor in influencing the population distribution in the Mezzogiorno. So the Apennine Mountains stretch north to south to the Mezzogiorno. The Fold Mountains contain limestone and have few rivers. Okay, so again, guys, here we have the Apennine Mountain range. Again, as you see, you cannot really see much signs of settlement. I think up here you can see a small little village. Apart from that, there's nothing, okay? It's got limestone and few rivers. What does this mean? Well, this means that if there's few rivers, there's not really going to be good drainage and good quality water for soil. So it's not going to be good for agriculture. Okay, so as a result, along here, the Apennine Mountains, there's not a whole lot of settlement, okay? The Apennine Mountains have a low population density. Well, that's an obvious one because the land is steep. Over 45% is mountainous, which over 400 meters, and as a result of this, soil erosion is a problem. Okay, so soil erosion is a problem. Okay, so again, soil is not going to be consolidated well on a mountain, so it can break off, and this is but useless for farming and useless for building on, so nobody lives here. Okay, the mountains prevent profitable farming and are a barrier to communications. Okay, so the Apennine Mountains are they're a barrier for farming and a barrier to communication. So, like, for example, if you live in this area here, you know, you're not going to be able to get a good phone line, good phone service. You're not going to be able to get Netflix or Sky or anything like that. Okay, so as a result, nobody lives here, and that's as a result of the poor relief, the Apennine Mountains. Okay, while they might look lovely, they're not good for living in or farming on. Okay, human factors are a big thing in the Mezzogiorno. So we've kind of spoken about the soils and the relief. Human factors are a huge part of the Mezzogiorno. So the Mezzogiorno is a poor peripheral economic region, attracting just 1% of Italy's foreign direct investment. So 99% of Italy's foreign direct investment goes to the northern regions, which contain cities like Milan and Roma and you know, these kind of places. Okay, crime is a big problem in the Mezzogiorno. So guys, if you think back to the old kind of, you know, the old traditional Italian mobsters, they're still very, very prevalent in the south of Italy, in the Mezzogiorno, okay? The mafia kind of type guys. And as a result, organised crime bleeds healthy firms of money that would otherwise spend on development, on investment. So guys, if you open a factory in the south area here in the Mezzogiorno, chances are you have to pay a crime lord or a crime boss basically for protection. That's how it works, okay? And a lot of parts of the Mezzogiorno are run by gangs, run by, you know, criminals, by the mafia. So organized crime is a big thing that hinders development in the Mezzogiorno. And if there's bad development, what's going to happen when it comes to the economy? People are going to move out, okay? Now, as a result of this, so as a result of organised crime and bad industrial development, there's a lot of unemployment, out-migration. Out-migration is simply people moving out of the area. Unemployment here is very high. So unemployment in the Mezzogiorno was 25%. Like, that means 25% of people who are adults who are available to work cannot find a job in anything at all, which is absolutely a huge number. Okay, so as a result, out-migration is a problem, and anybody in Mezzogiorno who is in any way educated or smart leaves to work in the north of Italy. Okay. And what's happened as a result of this, what it means, the population in the south of Italy is quite old because all the young people have left. And it also means that the population is gradually reducing. For example, between 1950 and 1970, 4 million people left the Mezzogiorno. And here we have a person here, their bags are packed and they're ready to go. They're getting out, they're getting away from the crime, they're getting away from the unemployment, they're going to northern Italy, maybe to Rome or Milan to find work. Okay. Now, what other human factors have influenced the population distribution of the Mezzogiorno? Well, government policy is a big one, okay? And the government policy we're going to talk about is called Casa per il Mezzogiorno. Okay, Casa per il Mezzogiorno, and this was brought in the 1950s. Okay, so we can see the official booklet on the right hand side of our slide here, Casa per il Mezzogiorno. And what this was the government recognised the Mezzogiorno has bad farmland and it has bad industry in the south, so we're going to invest money in it. Okay, and hopefully this will benefit the population and stop people moving out of the area. Okay, so what did they do? They drained marshes. What did this mean? So they drained boggy land that could be used for farming. They brought in irrigation schemes, and they reclaimed coastal lowlands to provide more farming. Okay, irrigation, guys, is basically artificial watering of land. So they would have watered farmland to make it profitable again. Okay, and as a result, this was done, guys, this was all done along the coastline. So as a result, people relocated to these areas along coastal plains, okay? If we go back here to our slide, guys, look here. Naples, our city Naples, is along the coast. And that's a big area that would have developed, okay? Or would have developed and benefited from the Casa per il Mezzogiorno, okay? This has lowered the population distribution in upland areas as increased population densities in the coastal and has increased population densities in the coastal areas as people move to the coast in search of better farmland. Okay, so again, guys, the Casa per il Mezzogiorno benefited areas like Naples. So it provided industry and farmland in Naples. And as a result, people moved away from the Apennine Mountains to the coast, okay? And this meant the population of Naples increased. Again, there's 400 people per square kilometre here. And the population density in the Midlands, in the kind of mountainous areas, decreased, okay? The Casa per il Mezzogiorno also worked on developing industry. Okay, so it developed industry in places such as Bari, Brindisi, and Taranto, as well as Naples and Palermo. Again, where are these places located? These places are located along the coast. So guys, if we go back to our map up here, we'll go to this one here, we can see Palermo along the coast, Naples along the coast. Again, it was the coastal areas that benefited from this, okay? So the Casa per il Mezzogiorno benefited the coastal areas in terms of industry and farming, and it didn't really benefit the areas here in the middle, okay? They kind of saw the likes of the areas of the Apennine Mountains as like a lost cause. It didn't really benefit them at all, okay? What kind of industries have set up here? Well, oil refining industries and steel industries, okay? And as a result, population densities have increased because people have moved to these coastal towns. For example, Palermo in Sicily, okay? Now, what else benefited under the Casa... the Casa per il Mezzogiorno, so this fella here, tourism. So if we look, guys, Italy is known for its fabulous coastal resorts and tourist areas. So, for example, if we look up here, we've got Sorrento, a mountainside town, and the Casa per il Mezzogiorno would have invested money in this area to make it attractive for tourism. Okay, so they would have invested in the tourist area here. They would have built transport, public transport, airports, services, tourist guides, all these things here. And as a result, a lot of coastal areas such as Sorrento, and Sicily are really, really fancy areas, and they've got big tourist industries here. And again, that's because of government policy. The Casa per il Mezzogiorno has invested money in this area. Okay, moving on now. The final human factor that has influenced the population density in the Mezzogiorno is escape from conflict. So given the location of Italy, okay, it's quite close to parts of the Middle East and quite close to parts of Eastern Europe. And over time, so over the last 100 years, people have, or even less, the last 30, 40 years, people have moved to Italy and moved to certain parts of the Mezzogiorno in an effort to escape conflict, okay? So, for example, escape from conflict is a push factor that makes the Mezzogiorno attractive. So, illegal migrants from places like Africa, Albania and Syria have come, okay? In the 90s, thousands of Albanian refugees fled conflict in Yugoslavia. So, in Yugoslavia in Eastern Europe, basically Yugoslavia was a place that was made up of small satellite states that eventually they all started fighting with each other and they broke up. So a lot of Albanian refugees left. So here we have a boat full of Albanian refugees coming to Italy. Okay, and they came to Apulia in southeastern Italy to live here because that was close to where they lived. And again, this increased the population in the Apulia region in the Mezzogiorno in Italy. Okay, all these Albanian refugees fleeing conflict in their homeland to come and basically in search of a better life in Italy. Okay. Today, so this happening to this day, guys, the population density in Sicily is rising. Why? Because of the arrival of African migrants and Syrian refugees. So we all know about the war going on in Syria, and the island of Sicily off the coast of Italy is seen as an ideal destination for these Syrian refugees to come in. Okay, and again, what's this going to affect? Well, it's having a population density here. It'll increase the population in that area in Sicily. Okay, thanks very much for watching.